Welcome to Button Specials Gaming. My name is Matic. Cheers, everybody. Clink. Today, I take a sip. Today, we're going to do a little breakdown on some Lineage characters, and more so the classes and what you should play and what you want to play, and a breakdown of how they play and the PvE style, the PvP style, all those different kind of things. And today, we're going to be discussing the tanks. Now, with tanks in traditional Lineage, I understand every class can be utilized and played as a tank for the most part, but we're going to be discussing the 4 actual tank classes in Lineage 2 here. And your options are going to include a Paladin, a Dark Avenger, a Shield Knight, and a Temple Knight, right? The Paladin, Dark Avenger being in the human race, the Temple Knight and the Shield Knight being the elves, Temple Knight being Light Elf, and the Shield Knight being the Dark Elf. Now it matters on what race they are because the stat block changes, right? Humans have the most con in the game when it comes to these tanks. They're also very okay on the strength and the dex, kind of middle of the road when it comes to those kind of things. Where con is your vite, strength being your damage, dex being your crit, run speed, those kind of things. Now, the Temple Knight, the Light Elf, is going to have the second most con, just under the human, but it's going to have the highest dex. They're going to be the fastest. They're going to crit the most. But their strength is going to be the lowest, right? And now going to the Dark Elf, having the highest strength, the second highest dex, but their con is going to be nerfed the lowest. And these classes play a little different. So depending on how you want to play your tank, whether you want to do more DPS, be more of a support tank, be more of just a straight up tank, depends on what class you want to play and how they play. Now, if you see here on the background, I do have PM Fun up. It's what I have found as the most it's kind of the easiest way to be able to look through the Lineage skills and of all the classes, and the easiest way to kind of figure out what you're doing, right? So with here, again, all the skills are dependent on your update that you're currently playing on. So I'm playing on Elter Reborn, and it's going to be going to Gracia Final here in a couple days. So the skills are kind of based on that. If you're playing a Gracia or Interlude or one of the Sea Chronicles or High Five or whatever update, your skills might change a little bit, and the PvE or the PvP aspect might be a little different. So it's a little caveat. Now, we're going to break down some of these classes, kind of figure out what you want to play, what I like, and by no means is any of this the best, but this is what I feel makes these classes different. So you want to play the play style of how you want to play the tank, right? So this is going to kind of help you choose those things. Alright, so going into the Paladin here, we're going to click on Paladin. It's going to break down all the skills. I'm not going to hit every skill, mainly because a lot of them are overlapping with every single tank class, so there's not really a reason. I'm going to kind of talk about what makes them more diverse than the other class. Again, Paladin being human, very good con, middle of the road of everything, good class. You get to be a human, which means you get to sub whatever you want after, other than obviously a crafter and overlord. And it's a fun class. They look really great in armor and that kind of stuff too. So the big things that change with being a Paladin, what they have which other classes don't, or don't all have, is the big selling point is Paladins can heal. So not only can they heal themselves, but they can heal other party members as well. They have heal, and then they have a sacrifice heal as you level up, which is going to hurt their health, but give a significant heal boost to anybody else in that party. Can be helpful. Again, you're going to be casting, so it's going to be a little time lag where you're not doing damage and you're not hating and that kind of stuff, or using aggression, but it is a helpful skill in definitely certain situations. Being a human, they do get shield stun, a very overpowered skill, very good. It's a non-damaging skill, which means the land success rate is much higher, and It is a very, very good skill. The Paladin and the Dark Avenger both get that skill, but the Elves do not. They get some other stuff. Now, one thing that the Paladin gets as well is the Holy Armor passive, which increases their dark resistance. A lot of people don't get that, and then based on what Chronicle you're in, having more of those elemental resistances obviously makes a huge difference, especially when it comes to PvE, because most of the attacks are going to be dark attacks. They do get the Undead Holy Strike, which is like a casting skill here. Right here, the Holy Strike, which does damage to undead. Decent, not something you're going to use very often, but it is there. It's a nice little if they're trying to run away. But a big skill that they have, and something that you're going to be utilizing in this class, is the Banish Undead skill. So what this can do is you can lethal shot one undead mob consuming soul ore, and has a chance of bringing that health from full health down to 1, right? And it's not always, and it's based on, as you level it up, the chance of it being able to land and that kind of stuff. But you do have a chance to then bring a full health mob down to 1 health. So even if it's a ×5 health mob and all these different things, you cast it, it can bring that ×5 health down to 1 health, and then you hit it. Essentially, you're one-shotting immediately on those mobs. It is a huge, huge benefit for this class, and it is something that you really want to consider. So again, being a Paladin, very good tanking. Obviously, you have all the hate and all the defense and all those kind of things, but you're going to be able to heal and support your party a little better. You're going to have the Banish Undead, which again one-shots those mobs really well. If it has a chance to, but it lands, and it's a great skill. And then again, keeping your Holy Armor passive to up your elemental defense when it comes to the dark attack damaging skills. So overall, great class. And if that's what you're looking into, I highly suggest it. Now, speaking and continuing with the humans, we're going to go into the Dark Avenger. The Dark Avenger class is a slightly opposite of the Paladin. Paladin mean more support, more heals, more safety, those kind of things. The Dark Avenger is that human race of going more damage, right? They have, again, those overlapping skills, shield stun and stuff I was just talking about, but the Dark Avenger goes more of the damage PvP route, having its Panther, which is like its iconic kitty that you can summon, and it's going to go run around and hit people for you. It does great DPS, and based on the Chronicle, whether you have a Great Wolf and those kind of things that are going to out DPS it, the Panther is nice because you can summon it out and then get rid of it and have the actual class to be able to do that. You don't have to worry about leveling a wolf. You don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. It's going to go up with you. Again, great skill. It does get reflect damage. It's a buff that's going to be able to put on. A lot of times you can just get that buff, especially if you're party with a Warcrier, but it's able to self-buff that as well. Again, nothing super overpowered, nothing super crazy, but it is helpful. Now, the Dark Avenger does not get any self-heals or party heals, but what it gets a drain health skill where you can cast and actually cause damage to them and absorbing your target's health. So it's not going to be as much, but it's going to be a cast. You're going to be doing damage, but you're going to be getting that health back. Continuing on with it going more of the PvP style, you're going to get Hamstring. Hamstring is essentially a slow that you can cast on mobs, or you can cast on people, where now you're going to be able to catch them. If people are running away from you and you're casting, hate and that kind of stuff to get them to turn on you, but they're still running, cast Hamstring, they're slowed, you're catching them. No big deal. Again, great skill and very, very good when it comes to that PvP. Continuing with the PvP, it also gets Horror. Horror is a fear. So if they're slowed and you cast Fear, you're going to catch them. They can't turn around and hit you. All they're going to be doing is running. Again, a very nice skill. Especially, too, if you get jumped by too many mobs and those kind of things, you can make them run away. Very, very useful. Very good. The Dark Avenger does get, as you see here, the Life Scavenge, as well as the Corpse Plague. Both those skills you're going to be casting on dead mobs. A life scavenge is going to be absorbing the health from the actual dead mob that you've already killed. Corpse plate is going to be an AoE explosion that poisons surrounding enemies. It's actually a pretty decent skill, especially if you're doing any kind of AoE stuff, pole arming and that kind of deal, and say you're the secondary or you're pulling the trains for them. It's a nice skill. Again, nothing super overpowered, nothing super crazy, but it is helpful and can be fun in certain situations. Now, similar to the Paladin that got the Banish Angel, or excuse me, the Banish Undead, the Dark Avenger gets the Banish Seraph, which is essentially everything I was describing with the Undead, but they're doing Angels. Now, this is a very good skill. Same idea, having the lethal strike, going from 100 to 1 with that health and those kind of things. But the nice thing about this is you can use this in Tower of Insolence against the very high level and high health angels that are up there, and you're running around and you're one-shotting them. And it is super convenient, super quick, and a great way to level. I highly recommend it. As well as Wall of Argus, they have angels there too, again, that you can one-shot and it goes smooth and it goes well. So, if you're looking for more of that PvP aspect, you're looking for more of that being able to catch the people and still be able to do a ton of damage, ton as a tank, and being a little more helpful, the Dark Avenger is where you want to go. Now, moving away from the humans, we're going to be going into the elves. We're going to start with our light elf. The light elf being the Templar Knight. The Templar Knight, again, is a class that's a little more supportive for the party, similar to a Paladin, but is useful in PvP and other situations as well because of certain skills that it has. Again, being a light elf, it has its own self-heal with its elemental heal. The big thing about the elves that the humans do not get is the elves get cubics, right? Cubics being the passives. So the elf gets a storm cubic, a life cubic, and an attract cubic. The storm cubic, as you see here, does a little bit of damage to the enemy. It's not a significant damage or anything like that. It's just nice to have. It's just one more way of causing more aggression so they stay on you. The life cubic is a heal cubic, and it will heal you or any other party members that are just getting damaged. It's not super effective, but again, it is just one more thing that's going to be assisting the party. And then finally, the attract cubic. The attract cubic is awesome. And what this is going to do is cast hate on mobs that you are attacking to keep that aggression so it doesn't jump on other party members. Extremely useful, great cubics to have. It's something that is going to make a really big difference when it comes to that PvE aspect, especially when you're in a party. Now, like I said, they do have that other side of going to PvP. Similar to the Dark Avenger having its hamstring, the Temple Knight gets Entangle. Entangle is essentially hamstring, again slowing the mobs down or the person down that runs away. Being a light elf, you get a self-cast Windwalk, so in case you don't already have that through the party, and then you can entangle them. You have the highest dex, you're going to be able to catch them. So not only are you going to be able to slow them, but you're the fastest and you're going to be able to catch them, which makes a huge difference. The negative being you don't have a shield stun. Only humans have the shield stun. So it's going to be difficult for you to hold them in place. One of the nice things is they do get the holy armor similar to the Paladin. Again, it's a passive increasing your dark resistance, which makes a big difference. And finally, the last thing about this is all of the cubics and everything continue to level up, which makes a really big difference, being able to help in those situations. Again, we talked about the running speed with the hamstring or the entangle and slowing them down. You're getting passives as an elf, a light elf, to again increase your speed. And what this is going to do is you're going to just be running faster, right? It's going to be a huge difference. So if you're looking for a party member, you like the look of the elf, and you want to be a group thing to help everybody else out, be a little more supportive, a little more tanky, the light elf and the Templar Knight is the way you want to go. Alright, and finally, speaking with and keeping with the elves, we're going to go down to the Dark Elf. The Dark Elf is called the Shillen Knight. Now, the Shillen Knight is going to the PvP route, the more damage route, versus the other classes, similar to the Dark Avenger, going more of the damaging. That's what the Shillen Knight's going to be. Now, the Shillen Knight, again, being a Dark Elf, is going to have the lowest con, so it's not going to be the best tank when you're tanking these huge raid bosses and those kind of things, because it's going to start taking a lot more damage. But it's also going to be able to pump out more damage. So, the Shillen Knight, again, being an elf, it gets cubics. The 3 cubics it gets is a Storm cubic, or excuse me, a Phantom cubic, a Viper cubic, and a Vampiric cubic. Now, the Phantom cubic is a debuff, a very useful cubic. It's going to decrease the P attack, P defense, and attack speed, as you see here, of the actual mob. The Viper cubic is essentially a poison, so it's going to be throwing out dots to, the mob that you've been aggressed. And then finally, the Vampiric cubic is a life drain. It's going to steal their life and give it to you, which you guys are probably aware, very awesome, very overpowered. Again, it does not cast this constantly, and it's not all the time every second, but every time it does it, it's going to start giving you more health, which as a tank is something you want to do. So the Shillen Knight is one of those classes that's going to be almost like a nuker tank. And the reason I say that is because it has a lot of skills that you're going to cast, so you're going to want acumen and power on this type of class. Similar to the Dark Avenger, it gets its Drain Health, which is a damaging Life Leech. But beyond that, it gets the skill Life Leech. So Life Leech on top of Drain Health. Drain Health does more damage and takes back a little less life. Life Leech is the opposite. It's going to do less damage, but you're going to absorb a significant amount of health back to you. So it gets 2 of those types of skills. Now, a couple other great skills that the Dark Elf gets. It gets Hex. Any Dark Elf will get this. As you can tell, it reduces the target's P defense. It makes a huge difference when you cast this on a mob. You're going to notice a significant damage increase because that mob is going to take a lot more. It gets Power Break, which reduces its P attack, which is, again, a huge help, especially when it comes to raids and those kind of things, fighting those big bosses. Another skill it's going to get here, being a Dark Elf, is going to get Sting. Sting is essentially a slight damage when you do it, but it's going to bleed the mob. Throwing any kind of dot you can on it. Another nice thing too is it's an overhit, so you can be helpful when it comes to that. Freezing Strike, again, another casting skill, since like I was telling you, these are kind of the nuker tanks. And it has a chance of slowing the mob or the person that you cast it on. It will do damage. Since it does damage, the land rate is going to be a lot less than Hamstring or Entangle and those kind of things. But again, you do have that chance of slowing the person, which is going to help you to catch them, and then doing a little extra damage, because any damage you can do is great, right? Another big thing that this class has that you're going to see here, it's called Lightning Strike. And what Lightning Strike does is it's a skill that you're going to cast on somebody that has a chance of fully paralyzing them. And when they're paralyzed, they cannot move, they cannot do anything, but they're still going to start taking damage. As you see right here, Lightning Strike, you get it at level 58. You're going to cause damage, you're going to hurt them, but you also have a chance to paralyze them. And when they're paralyzed, they lose. Essentially, it's Anchor, right? And if you can land that on them, you're going to win the fight 10 out of 10 times, right? Similar to the Dark Avenger, it also gets Banished Seraph. So we have the one strike or the one shot for the angels. So go from 100 to 1, similar to what we were just talking about, which is going to help that leveling aspect very well. Cast Poison, again, another skill, kind of pointless, no one's going to use it. But it does have the Corpse Plague, which we talked about, the AoE that you're going to cast on a dead monster, which will then AoE poison everything. Helpful, something you don't use very often, but it can be helpful and can help certain situations if you are doing any of those kind of AoE things. And so if you are looking for a PvP, more casting type tank, a little faster, a little more damage, you don't want to just sit there and tank, but you want to be part of the actual DPS club, then a Shilling Knight's the way you want to go. Now, we talked about all the 4 tank classes: the Paladin, the Dark Avenger, the Temple Knight, and the Shilling Knight. We did not go into the 3rd class changes. We're not going to hit them too much. They're all somewhat similar with a little bit of different nuances, but they, again, are very, very similar. So we're not going to go too deep into those. They have couple different skills that you'll see once you get to those higher levels. But for the most part, your play style and everything is going to be, going from that 40 to 75, 76, that 3rd class change, and even going into 76, 77, you're going to still play it the same way, essentially. So we're not going to go too deep into the 3rd class changes, but check those out. Again, I'll have a link down below, which will be able to break those down, and you'll be able to check out those 3rd class change skills and see if that's something that you want to look into. This full breakdown, PvP, PvE, all those different things, I think in the end, play what you want to play. I enjoy shield stunning. I think that makes a huge difference. My favorite is going the Dark Avenger, where I can have that high tank class, that high con, be able to shield stun, be able to summon a Panther if I want to do more damage, all those things. That's my personal preference. But again, by no means is that the best class. By no means is it, more overpowered than anything else. The cubics are huge on elves, so I totally get going that way. The lightning strike on a dark elf is huge. Being able to have heal cubics or healing yourself as a paladin is a huge difference. All of them have pros and cons with them. So in the end, play what you want to play, have a good time, and enjoy the game. Well, with all that being said, guys, thank you very much. My name is Matic. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave comments below, and I'll try to answer them however I can. I am streaming on Twitch. I stream on Trovo, obviously on YouTube as well with YouTube Live. I have a Twitter that's going to announce all the times I am live and tips and updates and anything like that, so definitely check that out. Again, I'll have links in the description below with everything, with the websites that I'm using for skills, with a website for all the updates, and a link down below where on the server that I am playing on, which, again, if you're looking for a good server, I highly recommend it. Go check it out. Otherwise, thank you guys very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you at the stream. Cheers. Clink.